Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to week one of the ADL. Very exciting, as are all week ones. And oh, is that 7 minutes into the video? Well, I can tell you're already bored because your short attention span is so bad. Therefore, I've pre-prepared some fun content for you to look at while we talk over the extremely important battler and the matchup here. There you go. You guys enjoy that while I go ahead and talk about the matchup. It'll be very quick. So, starting off in week one, our first opponent is Tylerruto. Hopefully, I'm pronouncing that correctly, but he is our first battle of the season. Currently, of course, we are both 0-0. This is off center. It's kind of making me mad, actually, because I'm looking at it now because I have a short attention span. But yes, you can see the matchup on the screen, and automatically, I'm not liking it right away. I'm not liking it right away off rip, mainly because we're slower, which was going to happen with Arceus. I just have to accept that as a fact. And so, looking at the matchup, at first it seems like kind of free for us because Arceus is pretty good, Palafin's good, but there's a few problems. Namely, he has a really strong out in like bulk up Mega Mewtwo X. That guy kind of washed me in the first mock. I had a few plans for it, but eventually they were mainly gimmicky kind of type battle strats, and so they weren't very reliable. You'll see what we ended up rocking with, but unfortunately, I didn't think it was a tough matchup. Orin was supposed to mock me, but he didn't. So, Orin, if you're watching this, it's okay. I forgive you. It's not a problem. It actually doesn't matter. Silver got me, or Silvis got me, so we're good. Actually, it might have mattered. You'll see later. So, not really too much to talk about at the matchup. Just take a look at it for yourself. It's not that tough. It is annoying. It is tough for sure. I do think it is a losing matchup for us because it is like Mega Mewtwo X is given a lot of options. It's a very tough matchup. The six I thought he would bring was Mega Mewtwo, Landorus, Ferrothorn, Feeny, Kyurem, and then the what is that guy called? The Glamora. I thought those six were coming for sure, so I kind of prepped around those. Hopefully, this all this stream stuff, bro. If I should get an Oscar for like setting up everything I did for the stream, not the stream, but the video. Hopefully, it's not too laggy, but it's lagging on my screen. Anyway, switching over to what we brought. Actually, no, let's talk about what's good for us. So, Palafin's very good. Assuming that we can chip and get rid of the Feeny, Palafin has a lot of great options here. It is faster than the Kyurem down, which is nice, actually, because I don't think Raikou or Scyther is coming. That would mean it's just slower than the Mega Mewtwo X, which is really nice, unless he wants to run Scarf, Kyurem, and or Scarf. Actually, Scarf Feeny, Scarf Kyurem, and Scarf Landorus are all technically reasonable. Absol's good once the Feeny is gone, which is nice. So Absol and Palafin are both doubling into the Feeny as primary checks because Ferrothorn doesn't really want to take a Flamethrower, and Landorus does not want to take an Ice Beam. So both those are good options defensively. I'll show you what defensively we're cooking because you'll see just in the builder, which is what we're going to go do now. So actually, if I can, sick, it worked. Let me go ahead and remove that. All right, lit. So this is the first set that we brought. It is our Palafin All Might. We're rocking a Wave Crash, Close Combat, Bulk Up, Agility. So it is Double Dance. Assuming I can get set up, it does take 2 turns to set up, which is kind of annoying. However, we actually can take advantage of his terrain in that we will not get status. So like Pharaoh can't have some weird Thunder Wave thing, or like Dirge can't Will-O-Wisp us or anything, which is nice. After 1 bulk up and agility, we pretty much sweep his entire team, assuming that the Feeny is sufficiently chipped. So the Feeny getting chipped is pretty huge for us. Additionally, physically defensive Palafin also is quite useful to be dead. But if it's not dead, we can hopefully play around it. We need a little bit of chip on it if it's physically defensive, because Dirge is a fat guy, and that's all there is to it, really. But yeah, pretty simple set. Leftovers gives us that passive recovery that we need. But as I mentioned, it does take 2 turns to set up, and if you're going to spend 2 turns setting up, you need a bit of support, which is why I decided to rock with Light Clay Screamtail. So this Screamtail is our also primary check to both especially offensive and mainly the Kyurem, because we do outspeed the Kyurem at base, and we can put up a Reflect, Light Screen, Wish, and Baton Pass. Baton Pass we have to be careful with, because if the Kyurem does decide to Earth Power and lowers my SPDEF on the 10%, and we pass that SPDEF, it is technically passing stats, which means it is technically illegal. Even though it would put us in a more disadvantageous position, it is still against the rules, so we got to be careful with that. Other than that, we're pretty much chilling. Yeah, it's very simple. This guy into Palafin is very useful. All right, it'll just give us exactly what we need. It'll give us that more longevity to set up the 2 turns instead of the 1. Even better if we can catch something on the switch, switching out on the bulk up or agility, that'd be great. Additionally, we don't really need the +1 as long as we have like 1 or 2 layers of spikes up. If 2 layers of spikes go up, then we don't need the +1 to ensure the kills. Palafin is just that guy. So yes, SPDEF, very simple set, screens. I thought about running like Encore over Baton Pass, but Baton Pass just was better in most situations. Next, I wish I can get rid of this. Maybe I can if I just click spacebar. Maybe I'm an idiot. Next, we have the no, not Ferrothorn. This is Fortress. Fortress is also especially defensive. This is an anti-Glamora lead if it does bring Glamora. If not, this guy is actually kind of useless, I'm not going to lie. It is good, like, technically against the Kyurem, but it's not that great. It's mainly here to put up spikes. Like I said about the 2 spike thing, having 2 spikes up is pretty huge. Even 1 spike up is very solid. B-Press, Volt Switch, Rapid Spin, pretty basic set. Like I said, this anti-leads Glamora. Glamora can set up on us, but we can also set up on them, and they are not able to remove our stuff because Mortal Spin is poison type, so we're immune to that. But yeah, pretty simple set. I'm going to click spacebar and hope it doesn't destroy everything. Oh, let's go. Next up on the list is Mega Absol. I picked Mega Absol here mainly because, like I said, after we do have a thing in the back for the oh my gosh, the Tapu Fini. Like again, after Fini's gone, this guy's very good. We have enough speed to outspeed Kyurem down. Not close combat, Sucker, Ice Beam. I thought about running SD, but like no, it's kind of mid. Like running SD on this guy feels like a waste of a turn, because even if we do pick up that kill that we spend not making a read or just not hitting twice, he just brings in, you know, Mega Mewtwo X, and then I gotta go out anyway. So Knock is solid, close combat always solid, Sucker's always solid, Ice Beam obviously for the Lando. If the Lando is physically defensive and not scarfed, it is, you know, just great for me. This does beat the Pharaoh and the Kyurem and the well, it does like 80% to the Kyurem, and it does like 58% to the Ferrothorn, assuming it's physically defensive. But yeah, pretty solid. Sucker's there for insurance. I thought about like having Willow on this guy, which is another option, because if the it stops the, what is that called, the Mega Mewtwo X from setting up on me, which would have been nice. But I just decided to opt Sucker Punch just in case something bad happened, something got out of hand. But yeah, pretty simple. This is really good actually, because a bad thing about this game is when I was trying to map out the sequences, Palafin and this guy are both really good, but they both need to be in on a turn and then get back out, right? Because this guy can't be burned by Skeledirge, which is really big. It's actually like great for me, because this guy can beat Skeledirge 1,000,000% of the time, because it can't be burned like on switching or just burned at all. Like if he's Cobra Berry, Will-O-Wisp, it doesn't matter. So that's pretty sick. It doesn't really matter at all, because they have their own terrain that stops status, but it was pretty solid. This will OHKO most, what is it called, Dirge, and it does give like these two, this and Palafin works pretty well together, chipping down the defensive threats on my opponent's team. Next we have this ape. In mocks, this ape put in a ton of work. So Fire Spin, obviously ape baits in either Skeledirge or Tapu Fini. Ideally it baits in Tapu Fini, but it's more likely to bait in Dirge, because Fini can Dirge cannot handle Palafin, whereas Fini can technically handle Palafin, assuming the game is played properly. And so it's more likely to catch the Dirge, which is still pretty solid. That will let me, you know, it threatens a lot of setup, which is pretty scary for my opponent. It makes them play a bit more aggressively. Fire Spin, Toxic Gunk Shot, Slack Off with the Grip Call gives me 7 turns, assuming I hit the Fire Spin on switch. And that means 6 turns to really chip things down. Fini will get 2-hit KO'd with my attack, and or most Fini will get 2-hit KO'd with my attack, and then Skeledirge will get Toxic Stalled. Or even if it doesn't live, let's say it switches in on like while the terrain is up, that's probably like 3 turns, 2 turns maybe of terrain. Even if I don't kill it, it'll be switching back in at like 4%, which is great for me. But yeah, this guy put in a lot of work in the mocks. Next up, we have Arceus. Arceus is our Mega Mewtwo X check because Mega Mewtwo X is broken. Not broken, but it's an Uber's League. Obviously, it's broken, but it's very strong, as it does in fact have like potential bulk up sets, like I was talking about. All that. Judgment, Hex, Recover, Will-O-Wisp is pretty much just the insurance. This guy is dedicated to take on Mega Mewtwo X, and once Mega Mewtwo X is burned, it can also potentially take on Landorus and Feeny and Skeledirge. But yeah, pretty simple. Let's go ahead and switch back to the battle, unless we can do that. How do we do that? Oh my gosh, I'm cooking, bro. I'm cooking. Maybe the greatest YouTuber perhaps of all time. Thoughts on that, guys? So looking at the lead matchup, I do get one prediction wrong. They have the I don't know, they have something over Glamora. Oh, they have the Dirge over Glamora. Yeah, the more I think about it, the more Dirge was kind of mid. I mean, it is good for the Pharaoh guy. Oh my gosh, I can't even say my Pokemon's name. I'm not even gonna try. The spin guy. But yeah, so looking at the lead matchup, I already pre-planned for the Ferrothorn lead. Even though that the Glamora isn't here, he would need to lead Skeledirge, and Skeledirge just opens up a lot of my guys. It opens up Palafin Flip Turn. I do need to look right away for a chance to put in Palafin and Absol right off the rip so that I can Mega Evolve and get my 0 to hero boost. So I lead Fortress on their Landorus. This is fine by me. We can trade rocks here. They knock me off, and it does a considerable amount of damage. It does mean it is somewhat physically offensive. I put up 1 layer of Spike. Dirge comes in, revealing that it is not boost, and I put up 2 layers of Spikes, which is great for me. I switch in my Screamtail because Screamtail is pretty good. No use putting up screens right away and revealing that. I'm just going to Baton Pass out immediately because Dirge does not want to stay in because he gets Encored or something. So Feeny comes in. I just bring an Arceus Electric right off the rip because any chip on this is good. I Judgment here, which is great for me on their Defog. So they do reveal Defog on the Feeny. They get rid of my Spikes. But again, Feeny was the thing I needed chipped, right? Feeny was the guy I needed Spikes on, and Feeny was the guy in front of me I ideally got because it gives Palafin and what is it called? Absol the most room. So I'm fine with getting my Spikes removed there. Not a big deal for me. I bring in Palafin immediately on the switch to Landorus because I predicted the switch and I need All Might in to get back out so I can bring it in later with a good power boost. I switch in this guy to Landorus Earthquake. It does 2 KO. I don't really want anything else taking an Earthquake, so I let it drop there. I bring All Might back in to threaten, but I go ahead and bulk up here, which is really good for me. Nothing can really take a CC here. I CC this Ferrothorn, drop dead. I think if it was Max Fizz Death Bolt, it had a chance to live, but it was not Max Fizz Death Bolt, and that not being Max Fizz Death Bolt makes me think that the Dirge is actually Max Fizz Death Bolt, or at least somewhat has set up. This Mewtwo could be packing Thunderbolt for the Dondozo because it would get blocked by Dondozo any other way. So I just bring in Tesla right away, not to fool around, and they Agility, which is interesting. He low kicks here, which does about half, and I burn him, so that's great for me. Now Mewtwo is kind of not a threat anymore. He low kicks again, but I just heal back up because, like, again, this Mewtwo is, once it's burned, the Mewtwo is not as big of a threat, and now the game's looking pretty solid for me. Lando comes in here on the Hex. I do about 24%, which means it is a little bit bulky. It Earthquakes me, and it is faster. So it is potentially Scarfed. Actually, no, it's definitely Scarfed because we're 120 speed. And so it's definitely a Scarf set. I burned it, though, so it's kind of whatever. RCS is low, but, again, doesn't really matter. Let me slow it out. Yeah, RCS is low, but it doesn't matter because I do heal on the Feeny and the Skeledirge and the Kyurem. Potentially, mainly Feeny and Dirge give me back to full. And the Mewtwo is already burned, and so it's not as big of a threat anymore. So Arceus can be a little chipped here. I bring in the Celine Dawn and the Kyurem, and now I put up my light screen on the Icicle Spear. So it does a real physical move here. I am faster than it, and I go ahead and just Baton Pass out into the Palafin. They DD here, which is kind of scary. They Scale Shot and miss, which sucks for them, and I bulk. Even if that hit, I don't think that sealed the game for them. I think it just made it a bit more tough for me. It does put me in a really good spot here because now I'm at +1. +1. They bring in the Lando to Intimidate, and I just Agility. This is now, I'm at +1 All Might. This guy's burned, I'm faster, so I just bulk up again. Now I'm at +2. Yeah, and their Earthquake is doing abysmal percent. I almost completely recovered with leftovers. And so now All Might is in his position to do its thing. I wave crash the Feeny. I take a little bit of chip, but again, it doesn't really matter. The Feeny was dead. Thanks to the judgment earlier, we're good. He brings in Dirge here, which I'm not worried about Willow. It is max Fizz Def like I thought, but he tried to Willow. I think he just forgot that the terrain was up. And so Wave Crash comes and takes Dirge here. And we're pretty much in a great spot. Nothing really is stopping us. Mega Mewtwo can come in here, but it just gets folded by Wave Crash. And then he could have maybe played around Intimidate, but not actually. Like, it's not really that possible. I just CC the Kyurem, drop that guy. And then Landa comes back in, and it just drops to a Wave Crash. So, yeah, it's definitely not how I thought the first game would go. I'm not going to lie. I wasn't expecting to really win this one. But All Might pulls out the win. I think that means it has 5 kills. This was the first game of our division for the entire season. I don't know if it is the first in the league overall. But yeah, first win. Really got to pick it up. GG's to Tyler. Super cool with scheduling. And so hopefully we get to play again in playoffs. And shout out to Palafin doing pretty much what I was hoping. I'm a big fan of the Palafin. So that is all I have for our time for today. Goodbye. God bless. Have a great day.